You put your phone down, then you pick it up again, not even 30 seconds later. You had nothing to check, no important message waiting, no deadline, no emergency. But your thumb opened Instagram anyway, or TikTok or YouTube, like a reflex that didn't ask for your permission. And here's the strangest part. You knew it was happening. You knew you were wasting time. You knew you'd feel empty after an hour of scrolling. And you did it anyway. So today, we're not going to talk about phone addiction the way everyone already has. We're going to go somewhere deeper, inside the architecture of your brain, and explain exactly why it was never really about willpower in the first place. Let's start by saying something important. You are not weak. You're not lazy. You're not lacking discipline. You are up against something that was built by thousands of engineers, behavioral scientists, and data analysts. People paid extraordinary amounts of money to solve one single problem. How do we keep this person on the screen for as long as possible? This is not a fair fight, and understanding that changes everything. Here's what's happening inside your brain every time you scroll. Your brain has a system called the dopamine system, sometimes called the reward circuit. Now, most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. That's not quite accurate. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation, of wanting, of seeking. When you scroll down your feed and suddenly see a video that makes you laugh out loud, your brain releases dopamine. But not when you finish the video. The dopamine hits the moment you scroll, right in that split second when you don't yet know what's coming next. That uncertainty, that gap between "what is this" and "let me find out," that is the most powerful dopamine trigger your brain has. Neuroscientists call this variable reward. A reward that comes randomly, unpredictably, sometimes generously, and sometimes not at all. And if that sounds familiar, it should. It is the exact same mechanism behind slot machines. You never know what you're going to get when you pull the lever. Maybe nothing. Maybe the jackpot. And it's that not knowing that keeps people pulling. Your feed works the same way. The next video might be boring, or it might be the most interesting thing you've seen all week. Your brain cannot stop, because stopping means potentially missing the reward that's just one scroll away. And the platforms know this. They did not stumble onto this by accident. Let's talk about the specific traps built into every app you use, the ones you experience every day without even noticing them. The first one is infinite scroll. Before social media, online content had natural stopping points. You'd reach the bottom of a page and have to click next. That small action, tiny as it was, created a moment of conscious choice. Do I want to keep going? Infinite scroll eliminated that moment entirely. There is no bottom. There is no pause. There is only the next piece of content, and the next, and the next. The second trap is the way notifications are timed. Have you ever noticed that a like or comment doesn't always notify you immediately? Sometimes it arrives minutes later, or arrives alongside several others at once. That's not a technical delay. That's a deliberate design. Algorithms hold your notifications and release them in batches timed to maximize how often you open the app. They know you'll return more consistently if there's always something new waiting for you. The third trap is autoplay. When one video ends, the next begins before you've made any decision at all. Your brain is in its most passive state at the end of a video. Relaxed, receptive, not actively choosing. And that is precisely when the next piece of content slides in. You never had to say yes. You just never said no. Each of these mechanisms on its own seems almost harmless. Together, they create a loop that is genuinely difficult to exit through willpower alone. Because they weren't designed to be exited. They were designed to be lived in. But here's the part that most videos on this topic skip over entirely. Knowing something is bad for you is not enough to make you stop. If awareness alone were sufficient, no one would smoke after reading the warning label. No one would stay in unhealthy patterns after recognizing them. But people do, every single day, because knowledge lives in one part of the brain and habit lives in another. So what is actually happening when you reach for your phone, even when you know you shouldn't? Almost always, it starts with a feeling you want to escape. The low-grade stress that builds up by 3 in the afternoon. The boredom that feels oddly uncomfortable when you sit in silence. The vague anxiety that doesn't have a name or a source. The loneliness that creeps in at the end of a long day. These feelings are unpleasant, and your brain is wired to move away from unpleasant things as quickly as possible. Scrolling offers an immediate exit. No confrontation with the emotion. No sitting with the discomfort. Just movement. Stimulation. Something happening. And here is where it becomes a cycle. After 30 minutes or an hour, most people put their phone down feeling worse than before. Emptier, more restless, more dissatisfied. And what does the brain do with that new layer of discomfort? It reaches for the same tool it always has. The phone. Psychologists call this emotional avoidance, using behavior to escape feelings rather than process them. And scrolling has become the most widely practiced form of emotional avoidance in the modern world. Not because people are broken, but because the tool is always in your pocket, always available, and always ready to offer the path of least resistance. So what do you actually do about it? I'm not going to tell you to delete all your apps and read a book instead, because if it were that simple, you would have done it already. What I want to offer instead is this. You don't need to destroy the behavior. You need to understand what need it's serving, and find a way to meet that need differently. Start by getting curious about the moment right before you pick up your phone. Not judgmental. Curious. What were you feeling 10 seconds before your hand reached for it? Boredom? Anxiety? A conversation that ended awkwardly and left you unsettled? Just naming the feeling, just recognizing it, creates a tiny gap between impulse and action. And that gap is where your agency lives. The second thing you can do is add friction to the habit. Your brain always takes the path of least resistance. So make scrolling slightly harder. Move the apps off your home screen. Switch your phone to grayscale. A gray screen is dramatically less stimulating than a colorful one. Keep your phone out of the bedroom. None of these things will make scrolling impossible, but they insert a small pause, and a pause is often enough. The third thing is the most important, and it's also the most counterintuitive. Don't try to eliminate dopamine from your life. You will not win that fight. Instead, redirect it. Channel it towards something that gives you a return. A creative project, a skill you're building, a book you read chapter by chapter. Your brain still gets the stimulation it's looking for. But now it's coming from something that leaves you fuller, not emptier. And through all of this, be patient with yourself. You are not fighting your own weakness. You are navigating systems that were specifically engineered to override your intentions. Every time you notice the pull and choose differently, even for 5 minutes, that is a genuine act of self-awareness. It compounds over time. Your brain is not broken. It's doing exactly what brains were designed to do across millions of years of evolution. Seek reward, avoid pain, conserve energy wherever possible. The problem is that the environment around you changed faster than your biology could follow. And the people who built that environment understood your brain better than most of us understand ourselves. Knowing that doesn't make you powerless. It makes you informed. And being informed is where every real change begins. If this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone who's been feeling stuck in the same loop. And leave a comment. I'd genuinely love to know. What time of day do you find yourself scrolling the most, and what do you think you're usually trying to escape? I'll see you in the next one.